Well guys, it's been a long time, but we finally got the Radissy up on the lift here. This thing has been sitting for a few months now. I mean, frick, it's been like a year. I don't even know how long it's been. Radissy's been down for quite some time. The last time we had it out, we took it to the track and we broke a lot of stuff in the drivetrain, particularly the rear axles. We tried to make some homemade custom axles and they did not last very long at all. So
I think it took out the transfer case too, didn't it?
I don't remember, but it broke a lot of stuff. It also bent that front bar up there because the motor was shaking. And it also broke the half shaft, I think. That's what that was. Since then, the van has just been sitting for a while because we actually took some measurements and we got some custom rear axles made for this thing, because that's one of the final things that we can upgrade in the drivetrain for the Radissy. I'm really hoping we don't have to do it, but there is also the chance that we could do a pro level differential in the transmission, and then we'd be running the same axles that the MR2 has, but in the front of this thing. Usually with the all-wheel drive setups, you don't need to do that. You can get away with the 5.9s that the van already has. So those are upgraded. We actually got the hardened half shaft, so that is upgraded now as well. And if you look right here, this is one of our new rear axles from the drive shaft shop. And just to show you guys the difference in size, this is the hub that was in there. You can see how much smaller this spline is compared to our new hub right here that fits the new rear axle. So a lot beefier, and these are made with much better material overall. So we actually already went ahead and got this side done. Why I got this knocked out. This was the side that the van was sitting on jack stands for a few months, and we put this side together so we could get it back over here, and this axle is already in and everything is good to go. And we had to make some modifications just to make sure all the brakes and everything like that still work fine. We are going to be switching this thing to a hydraulic e-brake as well. It will no longer have the cable driven handbrake. So got rid of some stuff and upgrading a whole bunch of stuff. So now we just got to get this side back together, got to get the new hub pressed into the spindle over here, then that side can go back together. We can hook the drive shaft and everything back up. Then we can move on to fixing that front bar up there that bent. We're going to reinforce that some so that doesn't happen again. And we're trying to get this thing ready for the 1320 video ice cream cruise, which is coming up in Nebraska, because we are going to be out there. And I always love bringing the Radissy out to that event to do the roll races. That's where I have the most fun in this thing. And then after that, we can see if the upgraded drivetrain here will finally survive a launch at the drag strip, and we can actually run a decent pass in this thing. But she's a big girl, so we just gotta upgrade until we can't upgrade anymore, and eventually it's gonna make a clean hit. So this was the traction bar that came off of the Radissy. When it was at the track, it wheel hopped really hard when it broke everything, and this tab right here went to a mid plate that we made, and you can see that it actually kinked the bar. You can see the paint chipping off right here, so it shook some stuff up pretty good. This piece is from Innovative, and it was a direct bolt-on for a first generation Honda Odyssey, and we had ourselves a brand new one right here, and this one is not bent, and this one was hand delivered by Ken himself. He actually flew over here. Their new shop isn't too far, so he actually brought this and dropped it off for us, and we can get this guy bolted on to the Radissy. We have to add that tab back on to go to that mid mount there. And on top of that, not only are we going to fix the bent one, but we also have this bar right here that fits very snugly inside of this tube, and we are going to add that inside of there as well and weld that inside of there just to help strengthen this. And right now Wyatt is working on a rear mount to go off the back of the transmission right here. We're going to tie that into the mounting points right here where the steering rack go, just to help keep everything from moving around in case it wheel hops again. All right guys, got the Radissy lowered back down. This is gonna be the first start in a long time. You can see how much crap we got in the engine bay. We even had freaking mud wasps building homes on the intake there, but we're gonna go ahead and start this thing up. She's all back together, ready to go. That front bar is back on. We are solid. All-wheel drive system should be fixed. Upgraded axles. Go ahead and try it. Been sitting. Come on. That's a lot of water. mean, it was under the carport the whole time.
It was on the outside though, so maybe the rain coming into the angle got in there.
Just after months of sitting, it finally filled it up.
That's what it is. Just gives us a reason to go and hammer it down the street, get all that out of there.
All right, guys, we got a pretty big announcement and some updates to give you guys on the MR2 here. We are officially signed up for World Cup finals this year in the MR2, which is one of the biggest drag racing events in the country. You guys have seen us go several times in the past. We're usually just visiting though, watching all of the awesome action happening, but this year we are actually participating with the MR2. It's an event I've always wanted to be a part of, and luckily they changed some things around with the rules and we're actually able to get the MR2 into a class, and we're gonna explain a couple things real quick, so sit tight while I go through some stuff, because we've been all over the place with what I wanted to do next with the MR2. It was about 4 months ago when this thing blew up at Ecletus and Cars. We had the billet block ready, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to send it just yet, and a lot of the reasoning behind me wanting to put a stick shift in the car was to have something we could run at World Cup, because if we put the billet block in there and made it stick shift, we could put it in stick shift and have no issues whatsoever, but then we'd be running with some really gnarly cars. I really wanted to run it in a class called Wild Street, and the reason we couldn't have done that previously is because the MR2 is rear-wheel drive, right? And a rear-wheel drive car, a true rear-wheel drive car that has the engine in the front, like a 4-link in the back, that chassis will have advantages over front-wheel drive cars and most all-wheel drive cars. To make it fair for everybody, they have weight requirements and turbo size limits that apply to the different chassis to kind of balance out the playing field. The MR2 isn't a true rear-wheel drive car. It's mid-engine with IRS in the back, and this thing doesn't even 60 foot as good as all-wheel drive cars with the same turbo K-Series setups that are out there. And the issue with us is that we would have to weigh a ton more than the MR2 currently is, and we just couldn't make weight, and it just was in this kind of gray area because it's not a true rear-wheel drive car. But I talked to one of the event organizers, and we were actually able to get a rule added in for any mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars. Now we have a weight deduction to kind of help even all of that out. So we're actually able to qualify now for a class in World Cup, and we can meet all of the requirements. So with that being said, we are full on sending it, boys. This was kind of a last minute thing. We found out these rules less than 2 weeks ago and made the decision to send it.
So going off of what he was talking about with the rules, is it not only allows us to run in that class, but it actually lets us be competitive in it. So instead of having to add 200 pounds to the car, drop down on turbo size to where we wouldn't have a chance in heck to run this event, now with all the updated rules, we actually could be competitive as long as we can get the car to cooperate. Because why throw a billet block in it if we can't go be competitive anyways? So yeah, now that we can, and there's a chance that we could actually do something in the event, you know, now is the time to do it.
We got a big opportunity. We could be competitive at World Cup. We're putting the billet block in the MR2, and not only are we upgrading the billet block, I mean, if we're going out there to send it, we happen to have a 83, 85 laying around that was meant to go on the 2J Civic, as you guys just saw, but it's not gonna need this thing anytime soon. So we might as well hook this unit onto the MR2, because with the right housing, it will bolt onto our manifold, no problems at all. And that will make 200 more horsepower than the previous turbo did, and that guy will definitely push us over 200 miles an hour if we're wanting to send it. So the last thing we want to do is make it all the way to eliminations if we make it that far and not have enough power, not have enough turbo to go full send. And I know that's what you guys would like to see. So we started making plans to get this thing ready to go. We have less than, what, 2 months, if that, like a month and a half?
Well, we also have a couple week-long events between now and then, so it's going to be all hands on deck trying to get this thing ready. The goal is to have it out testing by the second week of October, and that's going to be a tall order because we're gone for a whole week in 2 weeks. So
yeah,
we don't have a lot to do.
We don't have too much time.
But we've already started making progress. Like he was saying, we're kind of redoing a bunch of stuff on the car. I started with the wiring, got everything ripped out of the car. This is all stuff that's just kind of been modified and added onto over the time because it was kind of a rush to get it ready. The first time we did the car to make fuel tech and set the 7-second record. So the harness has just kind of been there but not complete. So we went ahead and ripped everything out. We're going to be redoing that from scratch, utilizing a PDM and just a whole lot nicer stuff all the way across the board for the car, making it so that we shouldn't have to touch it again. And along with that, we're upgrading to the FT600 from Fuel Tech. So as of right now, this is the baddest unit you can get from Fuel Tech, and the main reason we are going to this guy is just because we need some more inputs and outputs. We're missing a lot of sensors that we've been meaning to add on the MR2, like back pressure on the turbo, coolant pressure, oil temp, just a whole bunch of other things that we didn't have enough outputs to add. But now we'll have all the outputs we need with the FT600. This guy's just been sitting ready to go the day we decided to put the billet block in the MR2. We were kind of holding off on all this. But yeah, that will be going in there. It's pretty much exactly like the 550, but you can see it has some added LEDs all around it, so you can have like a shift light up here and all that stuff. And yeah, we'll have all the inputs and outputs we need. Now's a good time to plug our code. Use code BOOSTEDBOYS at fueltech.net, save 5%. And yeah, be sure to do that because this trip's not going to be a cheap one, boys. Along with the FT600, we're getting some other goodies from them, which are going to be really cool. This thing's going to be a monster once we get it back and running on that billet block.
You guys thought the MR2 was quick before. If everything goes to plan, I mean, there's no reason why this...
It shouldn't do a backflip in neutral.
I mean, this thing should be able to go low 7s on the right pass. I don't know if it's going to be 6-second capable. I don't know if the MR2 will ever go 6s. That's just so out there, but you never know. There's no reason this shouldn't go like bottom 7. Like realistically, if everything goes good on this combo, we should see like 730s.
Yeah, 730s, maybe 720s, and based on the results from last year, that would be a front runner car in the class we're racing. So
yeah, I don't know, or it's gonna blow up first try and we go home and that's that.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna find out.
We go home with a big hole in our pockets.
Yeah, a big hole in the pocket and the block. Be a really shitty day.
But yeah, I know that was a lot of talking, but I just kind of had to run you guys through what the game plan was and where the MR2 has been these last few months. But here's the announcement, boys. Billet block, 83-85, bigger tires on the back, need to upgrade the brakes, FT600, hopefully 200 miles an hour, World Cup finals this year.
Coming out swinging, bro.
Coming out swinging.
Yep.
And we're going to try to have a backup motor. The backup motor will be cast because we don't have enough time or money to do a billet block and engine as a backup right now. And I'm also going to try to have a backup sequential if it's in the budget. It's just a lot of stuff.
This trip's adding up very quick.
Yeah. And that was honestly one of the main reasons I wanted to get a trailer upgraded, other than the other one falling apart. But you guys saw we're going to need a push vehicle. Once this goes to billet block, we're going to need a golf cart for the trailer. So yeah. I've been planning, boys. I want to make it to World Cup, and the MR2 is the only one capable of actually being competitive.
Making it to World Cup, keyword there on the trailer upgrade.
Yep. If we can make it to World Cup, we'll call that a win, and then we'll see what happens after that. All right, guys, before we get the MR2 back together, I went ahead and pulled the transmission apart here, and I'm getting ready to change the final drive ratio in this thing. Back when I originally built the car, I had planned on street driving it, so I had imagined going down the highway. I wanted it to be in the lower RPMs and just have a cruising gear in 5th, but the car has evolved into a dedicated drag car, and this whole time we've only been using 4 gears when the sequential is a 5-speed, so there's a whole nother gear that we are not utilizing. And what this final drive change will do is kind of bunch all of our gear ratios closer together, or at least our power band will crunch closer together, and we'll actually use all 5 gears going down the 1/4 mile, which will give us better acceleration throughout the whole run, because I mean that 5th gear's just been in there chilling, doing nothing this whole time. So right here I got a 4.7 final drive. This was from my buddy Mark over at GP1 Racing. The one that's in there right now is a 4.3. All I got to do is pull the diff out of this trans, swap over this crown gear, and swap the gears off of this counter shaft onto this new one right here. Put it all back together, and we're good to go. We'll have all 5 gears. And another awesome thing to note is that the transmission is looking freaking beautiful here, boys. Almost no wear and tear. All the dogs look great. I mean, really love to see it. I know we've had some issues with the sequentials in the past, but lately they've been dialed. Ever since I started welding the nuts, I haven't had any issues with these things. So this has ran multiple 7-second passes. It's looking great. I'll definitely give it a once over before it goes back together. But it's just crazy that when we first put this thing together, I was getting so many messages saying how these sequentials wouldn't hold the power and that they would fail. And we were the first ones to really push one of these things to the limit. Not only is the MR2 the first MR2 in the 7s, but this is also the first sequential, K-Series sequential to go 7s, which is pretty awesome. And now all these other K-Series guys are going to the sequential because they have just been proven, and it's just awesome to see. And there's all-wheel drive Civics out there going low 7s now with these things, utilizing all 5 gears, and I'm sure that helps with their, you know, low-end acceleration as well. It's also going to help us in first gear some, because we have had issues with the car bogging on a really good track, so it's going to give us some more down low torque and just keep that power band right where it needs to be. So we're going to be running all 5 gears, not just 4. So I'll go ahead and get this swapped over, and hopefully that helps us out. Just like that. Good to go back in.
Nice shaft.
Thanks. All right, guys, the sequential is all back together with the new final drive for the MR2 here. We are waiting on the billet engine to get done at JBR, which it should be getting wrapped up here pretty soon. Then once we get that back, we can start getting this thing back together, and we're going to be upgrading a few things. Just like you guys saw, we're gonna also put a bigger turbo on it. That's also going to need a bigger fuel system to support, because we're about tapped on fuel system. Whole bunch of stuff to update you guys on once we get that far. And the plan is to have 2 of these ready for World Cup, so I have a backup in case anything happens to this one. Even though this thing has been bulletproof, it would be nice to have a fresh unit waiting there. Ideally, if I could get a brand new one with the same ratios as this, I'd start with the brand new one, and then this would become our backup since it has been used and abused. But I don't know if that's in the budget. This trip is going to be very expensive for us, but I really want to make it happen regardless. That's why we've been preparing with the trailer and just all this other stuff. And we have one more thing to show you guys, but if you're feeling so generous, feel free to grab something off theboostedboys.com. But we got one more thing to show you guys, and then we'll wrap this video up. Well, guys, as you saw, we're getting ready for World Cup, and we're gonna need a push vehicle. And I had this guy bring us a smart car that I found on Marketplace. He was kind enough to drive it over because we need to test fit this thing into the trailer. So I've been looking for a golf car or a smart car to bring with us to the track, and after I saw the prices of golf carts, I realized that we could get a smart car for about the same price, plus we'll have AC, we could register it, take it down the road, and a lot of guys at World Cup use smart cars as push vehicles. I'm just not quite sure if it's gonna fit, so we need to confirm with an actual smart car. The measurements say that it should work, and if you guys come over here, as you know, we have the step on the trailer, and I just took a pallet and cut a section of it out, and it actually fit perfectly right here because the tire of the golf cart, or in our case, smart car, will roll right over this, but it should fit. It's gonna be a tight squeeze, but if we can actually get a smart car in there, that would be really awesome to have with us at the track, because it would be a lot more useful than just the golf cart, I would believe. So we're gonna see if we can go ahead and pull this thing up in there, and if she fits, then I'm gonna buy it from this guy, and we'll have ourselves a push vehicle for the track. Yeah, and I can crawl out the passenger window if I need to. Or the driver one.
Well, you could probably open that door. It might open too.
Right. We'll have to put in some other hooks, but I mean.
Yeah, my worry was this hook, but we can still get to that just fine. And the strap would be like right here.
Put in some E-track to tighten the car in. And that would be fine.
Yeah, I think that's gonna do.
Yeah. I think that's the unit there. Pay the man.
All right. She fits.
She fits. She
So
sits.
I'll give you what you asked for, but $500 for a ride home. I think that's gonna be way better than a golf cart.
Yeah.
It'll have way more power. We won't have to worry about charging it. I was gonna get like a newer electric golf cart.
Man, the perks with that is
But-
being able to take it down the street.
Yeah.
Now you got a your car, go downtown if you need to. That's what's nice.
Yeah, if we have any issues with the truck and trailer, we can unload everything. We got an emergency vehicle with us. All right, she's in there. Just gonna have to find a way to strap that thing down, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. But dude, this trailer was the move. Don't forget, guys, right trailers, they keep the racers in mind. You can fit a whole freaking smart car in there along with the cabinets or a golf cart if you need a push vehicle with your race car. And if you say that the Boosted Boys sent you, you'll get a discount on any trailer over $5 grand. But I'm freaking pumped. That's gonna be awesome having the smart car at the track. So we're just getting the smart car cleaned up right now. It's definitely been sitting in the sun for a while, but we just gave it a bath. A lot of the plastics are pretty faded, like on the mirrors and around the front of the windshield there. And I took my small blowtorch and we're starting to bring some of the black back to the plastic. So I'm just gonna touch her up a little bit. I'm gonna start with this mirror right here. If you look real closely, we can bring it right back. It's almost new again. Gotta be careful not to burn it though. Just like that. Works so good. Well guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Got the Radissy running, the MR2's going to World Cup, and we got a sick new pit vehicle, which I'm pretty pumped about. So, sorry it's been a while since we posted. We got a lot going on. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later.